Hello everyone, it's Barbara Orban here from No Diet Babe. I'm on two videos at the moment. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So if I'm looking up, if I'm looking down, yeah, you know what I'm doing then. So anyway, happy Saturday. It's Saturday here, maybe it's Friday where you are, wherever you are in the world. Hello. Barbara from No Diet Babe. I wanted to come on here and talk about a particular question that I got in my inbox yesterday because I got asked about weight loss and I wanted to come on here and talk about the question that I got asked and sort of give my perspective of it all because one of the biggest things that I hear is like the word motivation. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about motivation today. So basically what the question was about weight loss. And I just said, what do you feel like your biggest obstacle in weight loss is? And one of the things that I hear a lot is like motivation. I guess one of the things was like time and motivation. And I find this really interesting to talk about time and motivation and what my perspective of time and motivation in terms of weight loss. So first of all, I was talking to this person about their obstacles. And one of the things that came up was really interesting because it was, when I was single, I had more time and I was more motivated to work out. And now that I'm taken, now that, the couple is off the market, it's like the motivation to eat right and exercise and things like that is kind of, it's like, well, what's the point? I've already got a partner, I can let myself go, that kind of stuff. And so I thought this was really interesting because I used to struggle with the same thing whereby if I felt like I had to impress a significant other or I was single, I was really like, that helped me, oh my God, I got to stay motivated, I got to look good, etc., etc. And so I wanted to have a little bit of chat about that and in terms of motivation because what I found for me and kind of with understanding a little bit more about the brain and motivation, pretty much we're going to move towards pleasure and away from pain. So for example, I'll put that into a scenario for you. For example, so you in your brain, right, you're thinking, well, I've got to impress this significant other. I've got to be attractive to other people. Sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. I was looking at the comments. So basically when you're single, your brain's like, oh, I got to impress the significant other. I've got to impress like a potential mate or whatever. And so you're like motivated because the pain of not impressing that other person outweighs like the pleasure of enjoying those indulgent foods, right? So pretty much like obviously those indulging high calorie foods, right? So we're talking about things like the chocolate, the cakes, the ice cream, all these things that I used to binge on and I used to turn towards like eating, meaning emotional eating. I used to turn towards these certain foods a lot, which I don't anymore. That was pleasure, right? Pleasure, indulging in the foods. But then the pain of not impressing somebody when you're single, for example, outweighed that, right? So perhaps for you, it's the same sort of situation when you're single. You're like, wow, I've got to get out there. I've got to impress people. So then suddenly in your brain, there's that payoff, right? There's that payoff of being able to impress someone. Therefore, you're going to exhibit behaviors that help you keep in shape. So it was really interesting to talk to this person about how they've put on weight once they've been in a relationship because they've gotten comfortable. So my kind of perspective of this is that the person still had those emotional eating tendencies and those habits, but was kind of suppressing them because the pain of like indulging in those foods was not weighing up, if that makes sense. So then what do we do about that? You know, what do we do? Because what is motivation then? So motivation, like I said, you're going to move away from pain and towards pleasure. So you've got to make the need to do certain things, like your brain needs to understand that you're moving away from pain and towards pleasure. So you pretty much just have to find pleasure in things other than food, if I'm going to kind of put it really simply. Because motivation, right? What motivation for me, it's like, well, I reckon I was actually more motivated to like exercise and like diet in the past, whereas now I'm not, it's not the same level of motivation for me now. It's actually quite different. And I think what's changed is really that emotional need, that drive to eat certain foods. So the thing that you've got to look at is the triggers to the motivation, right? So if you're like, well, I'm going to go exercise, but then your brain's automatically saying, I don't have time, I'm too tired. You've got to find the trigger that's actually reinforcing that behavior. So it's saying, well, oh, I need to go exercise. Oh, but I don't have time. There's certain beliefs there. There's certain thoughts that come up that keep on stopping you from doing those certain things. That's kind of like a bit of an explanation about the motivation to, for example, exercise or eat certain things. When it comes to eating healthy, I think that the biggest, the motivation for me would be health, because when it comes to weight loss, there's like so much, some people might not agree with this, but it's so different to health. Health is one thing, weight loss is another. Like they're actually two separate things, right? Because people just assume that you're going to eat healthy and then you're going to lose weight. And it's not the case. And it's great when it does, like it's that simple for some people, but it's a lot more complex than that. And so, health and weight loss are two separate things. So you can lose weight eating unhealthy, you can lose weight eating healthy. They're actually two separate things. And so when it comes to motivation to eat healthy, you want to actually just do it to be healthy, because in terms of losing weight, you can there's two separate things going on there. You can be healthy and lose weight. You can be unhealthy and lose weight. So there's lots of different things there. And the main thing here is, in order to lose weight, your body needs to convert the energy stores, like the body weight, into energy to use, right? That's what weight loss is. You're converting, like, hopefully fat tissue into energy. And so your body needs to have a need to do that. So that's reduction in calories, if I'm going to put it that simply. We can go into so much more complex into that, but that's really what it's about. And what I'm really, really motivated to teach about is the mindset behind that, because like, people come to me and like, how do I get motivated? And it's like, well, you've got to understand that the brain is driving you to eat certain foods because they're releasing dopamine in your brain. So it's that pleasure that you experience when you eat certain foods. And that's what you've got to change, right? Because if you're keeping on, like, you going on these diets and you're saying, like, what's the secret? What's the secret? I want to lose weight. It's that certain foods are going to release dopamine in the brain. And if you're not getting pleasure, if you're not getting dopamine from other sources, like dopamine, like if you get addicted to your phone and checking text messages or whatever. That's releasing dopamine. If you get addicted to gambling, releasing dopamine. If you are like sex, releases dopamine. So food, the high, and it's not just sugar, like people just talk about sugar. It's actually highly palatable foods, right? So it's the whole thing joined together, making it highly palatable. So it could be sugar, salt, all of the things together. Because, for example, sugar, like you don't just sit there and eat it out of the canister, right? I don't know about you, but I don't. I never have. And I used to eat, like I used to be, you know, a real sweet fanatic, especially the Nutella. My gosh, I used to love Nutella. Tell me if you love Nutella, because like I actually, my taste buds have actually changed, because I actually don't really like it anymore. And I think that's through training, like changing my taste buds, training my brain. My preferences towards food have changed since I've worked on my emotional eating. But that's really like, to get motivated, you've got to understand why you're eating certain foods in the first place. That's more, because like superficially you can get motivated, right? You can be like, oh, I'm going to look at these pictures of these Instagram models and, oh my God, there's abs. Oh my God, I need to look like that. Like, okay, right. That might be short term. You might be like, oh, okay, right, I'm going to get in shape now. I'm going to go to the gym. But long term, the pleasure of the foods and what that's giving you, like the dopamine, the drug feeling, like it's going to outweigh eventually. You're going to get to the point where you're like, oh my God, I had a stressful day at work and this is my go-to, right? That's what your go-to is. And so until you figure that a way to replace that long-term by working through the emotions, working through the thoughts and the emotional response that you have to food, then it's going to be really difficult. And that's why people struggle with this whole thing about motivation. It's like, how do I get motivated? How do I get motivated? And it's like, well, short-term motivation is easy. Like people just look, or like say you have a holiday coming up, or, you know, you've got a wedding or whatever. And then it's like, oh my God, yes, I'm so motivated, right? And then the pain and the pleasure thing, you know, the pain of not looking good at your wedding outweighs the pleasure of the food, right? And then so it works then. And then you're like, well, why did it work then and I can't do it long-term? It's because the long-term pleasure that you're getting from food, that release of dopamine is like you get addicted to that. And so you've got to find things that replace that. I mean, we can go into really complex things about that, but, you know, I don't have time in one video today. But pretty much that's a motivation thing. Like long-term, you want to look at the brain and what's going on and releasing dopamine when you're having these certain foods. So it's like, how do I get motivated not to eat like a whole tub of ice cream? Or how do I get motivated not to drink a slab of beer? Or how do I get motivated to not reach into the bickies every single day, you know, and eat all the bickies, in Australia, we have the Tim Tams. But yeah, how do I not eat the whole thing of Nutella? That used to be me. I admit that I used to have the family size Nutella jar every single week. Thankfully, I don't have that habit anymore. So it's good. How did I do that? Well, like I said, it's the dopamine getting released when you're eating these highly palatable foods. You have to change the emotional response that you have with that food, that connection, right? You got to change that response. You do that with your thoughts. You do that with your feelings. You do that it's through psychology. I mean, psychologists do it. They do cognitive behavioral therapy. It's pretty much the same kind of thing, but you just do it with food. I mean, there's so much more to it. I build courses on this this stuff. Like there's so much that can be said about how to do it and what to do. But simply put, like that's how you get freaking motivated, is to just understand why you eat what you eat, you know? And the other thing too is like to remember that no one's freaking perfect. Like, I mean, I work out less than I used to because I'm just not like a fitness obsessed freak anymore, thinking that that's the answer to weight loss, because it really wasn't for me. There's so much more to it. And yeah, so anyway, let me know if you have any questions. I don't know if I wanted to say anything else about motivation. I think, yeah, weight loss can be as simple or as complex as you want to make it, really. It's like, what do I eat, or what do you eat? People ask me, what do you eat? And it's like, don't copy what I eat. Don't copy what I eat, because what do you like eating? Like, it's all about you feeling satisfied. And yes, we can talk about health. Yes, we can go into nutrition and things like that. That's a separate topic altogether. But don't copy what other people eat. Don't be like, oh, she eats this and I'm going to copy her because she looks good. I mean, what are you currently doing, first of all? Because you don't want to turn your whole life upside down, right? You don't want to turn your whole life upside down and change everything at once. Look at what you're currently doing and just make small changes, and then feel successful in doing those small changes. So I'm just going to have a look at some of the comments. Yeah, so Cheryl getting married, I did that and gained more. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Joseph says it's called positive reinforcement. Yes. Definitely it's about conditioning. Yeah, totally. So basically exactly what Joseph said. So it's conditioned. Like I've said this before, hunger gets conditioned to different things. So it can get conditioned to emotion. So you can experience an emotion. That's what emotional eating is. So you'll experience an emotion such as anxiety. For me, it was anxiety. And then it's conditioned to feel hunger. Like instead of just feeling the anxiety, it's being conditioned. So it's all about that. And then it's reinforced, right? Because you feel good after eating that treat, and it's reinforced. So you do, yes, motivation, you do have to reinforce positive things. So other than the experience of eating the food, like for example, let me think of an example. Yeah, I've gone blank now. I think I'm like, what? Yeah, anyway, so yeah, Joseph, look, like we can go into this discussion, like definitely I'm well aware of like different metabolisms, different diets. What I specifically just wanted to talk about at the moment was motivation and in terms of emotional eating. So anyway, I'm going to get going now, and I will talk to you guys soon. Okay, bye.